Hello and welcome to the WIHS Journal Public Affairs Program. I'm Jerry Williams. Well, it's vital connections through music. Benefit concerts that support something called Follow Me Home. Find out what Follow Me Home is all about and more when you hear my conversation with Reverend Phil, pastor of Trinity Episcopal Church in Portland, Connecticut. That's all happening now on the WIHS Journal. It's news and public affairs. Well, I'm on the scene. 345 Main Street, Trinity Church in Portland, just on the other side of the river with Reverend Phil. How you doing, Reverend Phil?
I'm doing great, Jerry. Nice to be here this afternoon with you. Glad you're here.
It's a benefit concert for something called Follow Me Home. What is Follow Me Home all about?
Follow Me Home is will become a residence for folks in an experiment to create a kind of community that I'm not so sure exists largely in this day and age, but in a culture where we have an opioid epidemic and we're pretty much across the board an addictive culture. I think that what might be desperately needed is more ways of being community where we care for one another and look out for the common good wherever we are on the journey of life. And there's a lot of folks at the margins nowadays. Their lives have been broken in a variety of different ways. There could be substance use disorders, or we've got a lot of veterans coming back from combat arenas that are suffering from PTSD and that need healing. Any number of things. And what I imagine is providing a residence where folks can come together as a virtual family and heal together and thrive together and find ways to flourish as individuals within a greater collective. It's consistent with the way I see this guy in the early church, Jesus of Nazareth, created community 2,000 years ago, trying to resurrect that way of being that was revealed in him, the way he taught us to love each other. We're actually going to try to do that right here on Main Street in Portland.
What inspired you to take off and endeavor to do something like Follow Me Home?
Well, I grew up in the Episcopal Church, and it was the kind of church that was much like my family. Family that loved each other and expressed that love, but in our humanity in my home, I had a father who would try to raise us to do the right thing, but he'd largely say, do as I say, not as I do. And my church, to some degree, was like that also. And as I grew up and became successful in a business career and a family, I adopted a coping mechanism, which was use of alcohol. I became alcoholic and was losing touch with everything that I professed to be near and dear to me. And one day when I said I didn't know how to do it anymore and surrendered my own self-reliance and asked for help, I found a guy who dropped everything that he was doing that day and led me by the hand and took me into a community I didn't even know existed in the basement of a church. It was a fellowship of recovery folks who loved me when I was most unlovable. And for the last 15 years, I've been inhabiting that fellowship who cares for one another. No matter where they come from, it cuts across all classes, all races, all ages, all demographics, all genders. And God laid it on my heart to bring back to the church and to bring into the world today a way of being like that that seems to have been lost. And so I had some resources. I went off to school and got a credential in recovery ministry, was formed for ordained ministry in the Episcopal Church. I'm now an Episcopalian with a pension from Pratt & Whitney, 21 years of working in aerospace. I took my pension as a lump sum and said, let me take that pension, invest it, and put my money where my mouth is, where my feet are going, where people have gone before me, and give back the kind of love that was given to me. And so I was inspired to try to open up a place where people can heal that I don't think exists today. Not a clinical place, not a place that's going to make money, but a place whose primary purpose is to establish a community that looks like the community that I see revealed in the scriptures about the early church that Jesus had created.
So you took your pension and bought a piece of property for transitional housing, a sober house, if you will.
Yeah, the popular terminology would be sober house. I hate to use that term because the popular connotation of sober houses is not real great. They don't have a great success. What happens is they become rooming houses where people continue to inhabit a way of being which is individuals living together, but not necessarily coming together as community. the difference between what appears in those homes and what I endeavor to do is that the primary aim is to hold the common good to a higher standard, to wrap resources of the larger community around the group, to go in there and do Bible studies, to link people to employment on the outside, to bring people in to do teachings, to have neighborhood barbecues. I mean, just a quality of life that will subvert, the difficulties in our economy and create an economy of its own.
Folks, if you're just tuning in, I'm with Reverend Phil, pastor of Trinity Church in Portland, 345 Main Street in Portland. And in the background, that's the River Gods playing, a group, part of the Trinity Music Series. And I believe this is the last concert for the spring series?
That's correct. We had 3 this spring. We're going to have 3 more concerts in the fall, take a break for a couple months this summer. The spring concert series is collecting offerings to support the opening of Follow Me Home. In case it was lost on the audience, to Follow Me Home, the name for the residence is Follow Me Home because it's about following a way of being that seems to have proven successful. I'd like to say in my faith that it's the way Jesus said, follow me. He said it's the way you walk, it's not about how you talk. And so we're going to try to walk out that way of being, which I think leads to a salvation this side of the grave. And that's been my experience. That's now my conviction and my aim in life. So.
Is there a projected date to open up the home?
Ironically, there's a lot into it. I want to make sure I don't go so fast and open up a house of cards, but I'm also open to the movement of God to let people into the house that God puts across my path. And I've got a couple young men that have come across my bow in the last few weeks who are now engaged in moving the completion of the house for readiness for occupation forward, and it looks like likely they will be our first 2 occupants once I clear the hurdle with the local zoning officials, probably mid-July, and we'll go from there. But we're going to take it one step at a time.
Thank God for your surrender and your having a heart for the things of God and the people of God, and you yourself have a story, and I know out of that story was born a yearning and a burden on your heart to reach those who have come out of things like you have, and myself included, because we parallel. I haven't told you my story, but I commend you, and I thank God for what you're doing.
Thank you, Jerry. It gives meaning to my life in a way I never imagined was possible. I spent decades growing up thinking that no matter what I did, it wasn't good enough, and that I had that somehow there was a gap between where I was and where God wanted me to be, and that my job was to close that gap. And I discovered I was wrong. I discovered that God is ever present. He's in us. He's around us. He's for us. He's with us, and there was never anything that could separate us from that substance of that love. And so now I got to say that my Easter experience, I redefine Easter as not being the experience of something that happens after your body goes to the ground necessarily, but the very best of who I am today is the resurrection of the worst of who I was that I was willing to let die. So surrender is a real good word. It's faith is about giving up everything I think I got to create space for the reality of the love of God, which is inexhaustible, to enter in and take over. And it's what we all wanted all along.
Reverend Phil, thank you so much. I'm here at Trinity Church in Portland, 345 Main Street. Your services, the times on Sundays.
We're getting into our summer hours now. We'll be here at 9 o'clock on Sundays normally, but we're trying also, God's doing some different things here. We partnered up with the Methodist Church and the Lutheran Church in town in Portland. We've tried some experiments together during Holy Week, and it was so life-giving. We said, well, we'd like to do more of that. So first Sundays this summer, June, July, and August, we're going around to each other's churches, taking our congregations with us. And in June, the first Sunday in June, we were here at Trinity with the Methodists and the Lutherans. Next week, we're going to be up at the Lutheran Church with the 3 parishes. And the first Sunday in August, we're going to be at the Methodist Church at 9 o'clock, where I'll be preaching in their pulpit. God's up to tearing down the lines that divide us and bringing us together in really unique and creative ways. It's pretty exciting.
Well, God bless you, Reverend Phil. Thank you for your time, and enjoy the rest of your day and the concert.
Thank you, Jerry, and I look forward to having you follow up with us and as we go forward and coming back. It's been a real gift and a pleasure to meet you today, and I look forward to an ongoing conversation about what God's up to in the world today.
Likewise, and you know how to find us.
Thank you, Jerry. God bless. Peace, brother.
If you would like more information about what you heard today, call WIHS 860-346-1049 or visit WIHSradio.org. Click on the journal link. The opinions expressed are those of the participants and not necessarily of those of the staff or management of the station. I'm Jerry Williams for the WIHS Journal Public Affairs program at 104.9 FM, WIHS in Middletown.